Alright, so if we're going to add the Waypoint Controller to the scene, we have a option here for Waypoint Controller Brush, and what we can do with this is drop it into the scene and use it as the trigger point so that when the player walks over it, it'll actually trigger it to do an event with any of the follower objects in it. If you have one inside the scene, you can go down to the option for the controller right here. If there are no brushes inside the scene, then all these options will be, they won't actually come out. It requires that there be a brush in the scene to be able to be usable. So this one is, think of it similar to like the trigger objects, is that you have a unlimited option. The player can constantly trigger it and or a number of times to repeat it. There are two options that kind of let you go for a little bit more detailed in terms of when the player triggers this, do you want all the followers to do the actions over here, or do you only want a particular one? So for instance, we could say that we could turn this off, and we could say only IDs of the followers that are like 2. So any ID in here that has a 2 on it will do the action that's from here, while the other ones will still be following the same spline with no change. So you could have something where you might have an object that's supposed to move up and down only when the player hits it, while the others are moving left and right. Alright, so on this one though, we'll go ahead and say that we want all followers on it. Over on the right side, we have the enter exit. So part of the triggering, we're just simply saying that what do you want to happen when the player moves into the trigger box, and we're just going to go with the move forward on this one. And then on exit, let's say it stops. Alright, so when you trigger, the object will be moving at a forward point, and when you stop, it'll actually freeze for a moment whenever you exit the thing again. Alright, you also have the option to scale and to rotate as well, so you can control all of these elements right here based on the controller when you actually trigger it with the player. And or other object. So in order to set up the triggering for the object, just remember that this one is going to go across the board. This is going to be whatever these represent this. So if you have 5 or 6 of these, then you'll be using the triggering system here to control it. So we'll just enable trigger on this. By default, it's on player. This is set to 0, and our player state should be set to on and off right there. Alright, so with those set up, we'll go ahead and push play here. The block is set to go ahead and go forward, so it's just going to be moving like it normally does. But when I move it into this spot, so for instance, I move into here, now all of a sudden it moved forward, hit here, now it starts to play. If I move off of it, now it stops right there. So then I can go back that way. Alright, so that's going to give you the basic control, is that you can move inside of this to move and control this one separate of what's going on through here already. And that if you go for a motion, for instance, with this one, just as to kind of show again, when I do the move forward, what it's doing is taking it to the next point, and if the next point has information like this node does, it's going to continue playing. Alright, so there you go. Kind of give you an idea of what you can do with it.